That's how that works. What's going on, geeks and geekettes? It's another episode of the Countdown City Geekcast. My name is Ted, aka Steady. Joining me, as always, is the man behind the magic. You know him as Joe Garcia.
Hey everybody, good to be back on here, the Countdown City Geekcast, geeking out with everybody, and can't wait to start getting into a Gears of War discussion.
Oh, you're already spoiling stuff. You're already spoiling stuff. Look at you,
I
sir.
didn't
Look at
spoil. I
you.
didn't say anything other than I want to talk about it. I didn't say what it was about.
All right, I'll give you that. I'll give you that. And last but never the least, my partner in crime, you guys know him as the one and only Matty B.
And today is the season opener for Virginia Tech basketball. So let's go Hokies, baby. Let's go.
Gotta throw that in there. Gotta throw that in there. Awesome. Like I mentioned, this is the Countdown City Geekcast, episode number 224. You know what? I'll figure it out later. Episode number 224, and we got a full show for you guys. Later on, we're going to be talking about Andor episode 9. Some of us enjoyed it, and we're excited for what's to come. Some of us, we need a little bit more action going on, and you'll probably guess who that is just by looking at your screen right now. And we're also going to be talking about the season 4 premiere of Titans. Yes, that show. Titans is back on TV. It's craziness, but I'm very excited. If you've been following us, you know we always talk Titans, and that's been a little bit of a controversial subject, if you ask me. We've probably been the most critical about Titans on this show more than anything, and that's probably because I'm a big Nightwing fan. But we'll see what happens. But first, I want to make sure we talk all about the news that was dropping today. If you guys have been going through your timelines and scrolling through the news today, you saw a bunch of bombshell, newsworthy, news breaking items. So let's go ahead and get into it. The first one is a big one. I'm going to share it on the screen right now. If you haven't seen this, it's time to rejoice. It's been rumored for years, and it's finally happening. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, the Gears of War live action movie is in development. It's in development by Netflix. Let us know your thoughts, whether that's a good thing or bad thing. But I'm going to ask the gentleman on our panel as well. Maddie, I'll start with you. Gears of War, we finally got an update after years of rumors, years of speculation. We now know it's in development, it's moving forward, and it's moving forward with the biggest streaming service in the world. Are you excited or are you scared shitless?
To be honest, I don't really care. I played Gears of War, and well, at least the first couple. There's nothing in there that particularly makes me want to see a show for it. But I want to see Netflix re-enter the streaming like platform. I mean, they're kind of getting outdone a little bit as far as their content or canceling shows from nowhere or these sort of things. And so I want to see them step back into this realm a little bit and try something. So I'm excited to see it. And I'm definitely going to watch it. I didn't hate Gears of War, but I wasn't asking for it either. And another video game adaptation that I've been waiting for a really long time, which was announced that Oscar Isaacs was going to be in it as well, was the Metal Gear Solid adaptation. So still waiting on that. But I'll watch it. I'm not through the roof about it.
Legacy Nerd already in the chat going, yo! Legacy Nerd, what do you think, sir? Are you stoked for Gears of War? Let us know. And if you're also watching this stream right here, right now, let us know. What are your thoughts? Are you excited? Are you not? We need to hear from you guys. All right, Joe, you're next, my friend. Gears of War, are you excited that it's with Netflix moving forward or no?
Yeah, I'm excited. I mean, you see what Netflix did with Arcane, and I liked Arcane, the League of Legends, so it was a great show, as far as the writing goes, the animation, the character development, everything was impeccable, and I'm hopeful that they're going to be able to recreate that magic with Gears of War because it's a beloved series that a lot of let's say gamers are familiar with, especially harkening back to the days of old. These are going to be. I think this is going to be geared towards more of the 20-something, like my son. 24-year-olds, 23-year-olds. They grew up on this stuff. Playing this back in the Xbox days. So for them, it's like full circle, and they're just going to eat this up. And me playing that with my son, I'm excited for this. I want to see the locust. I want to see what's going to happen. How are they going to go ahead and bring this? To the, I guess, in the live format. The animated format, you can already see that that's going to be not easy to do, but it's a little bit less intensive, because when you're having to do it in the live format, you're having to rely heavily on CGI. So, and not only that, but the more practical use of special effects as well. So they got a tall task in front of them. So trying to go ahead and deliver on this, we just hope it doesn't wind up being something like the Halo debacle, Ted. And that was rough to get through.
You're not wrong, and I think some other people are sharing your same insights. So Legacy Nerd says, "I'm with Maddie. I kind of don't care. I played it also, and Halo set that bar low. But
Yeah, but I
we've had some good ones. Sonic, right? I mean, Sonic is on point. Video game
Well,
adaptation,
Sonic was on
doing it
point
right.
after they redid the CGI.
yeah.
And you know what? That could
Uh,
all be brilliant marketing. They knew how that was going to play out, and we bought it, hook, line, and sinker. Let's
Yeah.
not act
I'm
like that
with
Sonic
hasn't been
before the
done before.
CGI was nightmare fuel, man, with those teeth and everything. No.
I'm with Joe. I'm with Joe on this though. What does give me hope for it is that it is a animated series because we're adapting something we're used to seeing animated, and some of those cutscenes were really cool. If they can make you kind of dive back into that world a little bit, almost make you think you're playing the game, kind of.
Yeah, but
Um,
just to update you, Maddie, it's going to be both animated and a live action aspect of it as well.
oh, really?
Yeah.
Like the scenery is going to be live action, but they're
No,
going to
they're
have
going to
CG
do a
characters.
live action. They're going to do a live action, I guess, series, and they're also going to do an animated series as well.
Oh, it's two things. I thought it
It's
was
two
one.
projects. Yeah, yeah, two
Okay, yeah.
projects. You know what? Listen, I'm not gonna claim to be the biggest Gears of War fan, not by any means. I have some relatives who are. I know they're probably stoked about this, but I've always been a fan, and I played the first. I actually have played all of them, just not as much. Like I played less and less the further they went down.
Come on,
But
man. You didn't get off to the chainsaw, dude, chopping people in half. Come on.
yeah, I mean, there's a lot of other games that came out in those later times, so kind of spent my time playing other things. But regardless, I'm excited. I'm excited for a Gears of War project. I think with the right company, I think Netflix can put the most money behind it, and they've done stuff right. Castlevania, they did Castlevania right. Yes, that was an anime, but at least like they got out of the way of those producers, those showrunners, and said, "Yeah, do exactly what you want to do." Castlevania was the bomb. Um,
Castlevania season one was a slow burn, man. I'm not going to lie, but it
it
got
was
better.
a slow, but
It
yes,
got better. It got better.
fantastic stuff. So I am excited. They have done some things wrong. Any of the anime adaptations have not been good, right? But hopefully the video game adaptations
Oh, you,
fare
you're throwing
better.
slander on Cowboy Bebop?
Not that one really, but like Death Note, nobody liked Death Note
Oh,
really that
man.
much, right?
Yeah.
I have hope for their Avatar adaptation. I feel like they're building the foundation correctly, so hopefully that comes out well. But I think this is in the right wheelhouse. And Twisted Metal's coming out pretty soon. I think that one's going to be another banger. I feel like you got the right people behind it. So video game adaptations, I feel like we're expecting some huge hits in the near future. This is
We
going to be
shall
one of
see.
them.
I still remember Full Metal Alchemist, the live action, and that was no bueno.
Let's see here. Rick's in the chat going, "Hey man, uh, guess what happened with me today? I reached another Jersey milestone. This one was my 2,000th jersey. You have 2,000 jerseys, Rick. Dear
Damn.
Lord, sir, that is a lot.
Open a
That is a
museum.
ton.
Yeah. Yeah,
Open a museum.
that's a ton of jerseys. It's also a ton of expendable income. If you have any of that left over, go ahead and send some stars to the Countdown City Geekcast.
Hey,
Okay,
I
show us some
sent some
support there,
stars.
Rick.
I sent some stars last week, and I didn't even get a little booty shake from Maddie or nothing, dude.
You
I did.
totally got it. It's
I
on
booty
camera.
shaked right on camera. Um, and I will do that again for another star donation.
There you
But
go.
but there's a lot of video game adaptations we haven't gotten that we were promised we were going to get or teased that we were going to get. Splinter Cell, um, Metal Gear Solid was another one that was even cast, and they started that back in 2015. Then we got a cast in 2020, and that hasn't come through yet. So it's interesting. It's a dicey world when you get into that. And so we saw that with Halo. And if you thought there was story to build on to create a TV show on, I don't know of another show that would be a more ideal or game that would be a better ideal candidate than Halo. And they completely flopped that. So I'm hoping for the best, and I try to do that with everything. So I'm gonna watch it. We'll see what happens.
One series that I'd like to see be made into like an animated, series or a live action series would be the little lone sleeper from back in the day for the PlayStation 2. If you're a real one, Project Snowblind. That game was amazing.
Don't
So
think
an
I watched it
FYI, I'm gonna
or
be
played it.
like sneezing throughout this stream because of allergies that are like destroying the entire area. So I
Well, you know
apologize in
what? You know why
advance.
you're sneezing? Because you're not drinking a beer. That's what you get.
I'm just wait. I got one set up ready to go.
You see,
Um,
when you drink
Legacy
the Miller
Nerd.
Lights and the domesticated beer, it
Is that
builds up
what it
your
is?
immunity. It
Is that
builds up
what it
your
is?
immunity.
All
That
right,
bougie
all right.
beer, it weakens you, man. It gets you soft.
Legacy Nerd says, I feel Sonic is different. It's iconic. Gears of War, I don't know. I wouldn't put them in the same conversation. Yeah. I mean, yeah, you could definitely say that. Sonic is definitely more popular by a mile for sure. But Gears has so much source material to go with. Multiple games. They did animated movies, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know if there's comics or novels out there. I feel like I've seen something, but there's a ton of source material, and this is something Dave Batista has been trying to get made for years. Is
You know?
Batista gonna play Marcus Phoenix? That's what we
He
all want
has
to
to.
know. He
He
has
has to.
to. There's
The Rock
nobody
was the
better,
same thing. He did the same thing for Black Adam. You got to give Dave
right?
Batista a solid, man.
You got to. If not, then
Oh, we
if you
lost you.
if
There you
you
go.
no, I accidentally hit if he's not playing the lead, what are we even doing here? Why are we even trying? Hopefully Batista's involved.
He was
The
born
next
for this role, Ted. He was born for this role.
Hey, I'm with you, man. I'm with you. This next story is a Star Wars story, and I know we're all excited about it. Star Wars: The Acolyte has released a kind of a full cast listing. Names that include Squid Game's own Lee Jung Jae, Daphne Keane from the Logan movie, and from The Matrix, Carrie Ann Moss. This is a very talented group, and you've heard me talk about what I want to see happen in the Star Wars universe. We need to get further away from the Skywalkers. Well, this is something that takes place many years before the Skywalker saga. So hopefully, we're going to be walking into some brand new territory and meeting some pretty top tier level badass villains. So that's what I'm extremely excited about. Joe, you must be excited too, sir.
I don't know, man. I have to proceed with caution just because Disney's already disappointed me one too many times with some of the Star Wars series coming out. The most recent one to date was Book of Boba, which was a stinker beyond measure. And then I got excited for Andor, and that hasn't lived up to the hype. It's kind of been a snooze fest. I get, and I'm going to say it like this, with Andor, I actually respect what they're doing as far as not even incorporating anybody as far as anybody that's a Jedi or a Sith. They're going far away from that. They have very good writers. It's very well written. It's beautiful when you look at it, as far as the cinematography and stuff goes. It's just the pacing. I just feel like it's a little too slow. I hope that Disney's learned a little bit from Andor and probably from the Book of Boba and do something great with the Acolyte. I want to see more of an action based series, not so much of it being a dramatic series. Give me something in the middle. That's all I'm asking for.
I think you're gonna get it. This is gonna be based on some more villains than I think we anticipate. and I'm kind of wondering who from this cast is going to be used to play maybe like the head villain. I don't know if they're going to be called Sith Lords. They might, they may not. We'll see what happens with that. But who might that be? Maddie, I'll let you take the first shot. Out of this list, obviously one of the older actors or actresses, who do you suspect is going to be your quote unquote Sith Lord here?
Um, no, I don't think any of these are going to be the Sith Lord, but I am excited to see Carrie Ann Moss. None of these folks will. I don't think none of them will even be a villain. Maybe
Really?
maybe Lee Jung, maybe Dean. Um, None of them look enough like a villain to be one. This is going to cover, and this goes. I think it's 132 years before the Battle of Yavin, and so Palpatine was born around 82. Um, Years before the Battle of Yavin. So I think we're gonna Darth Plagueis, the Wise, is going to be our big bad here in the Acolyte. That's what I'm hoping for, at least, is that we're gonna learn about Darth Plagueis and get into some of that lore that Palpatine was talking to Anakin about during the opera scene there. Um, and I feel like I'm really excited though to see the High Republic. I mean, this is we've had games that adapted this, and I really love this timeline. I love the costumes. I love sort of the politics, and it was a lot more religious even back then. And so I'm excited to see how they delve through those things. Maybe someone in this cast list could be a villain, but as far as the big bad goes, I think that's going to be old Darth Plagueis the Wise.
That is a very bold claim, and I'm I will be cool with that. I'm not saying it would be a bad thing. I think that would be pretty cool, because yeah, we've only had so much of him spoken about in the live action project, so that would be cool.
Well, he
Um,
would be he would be during this time. He would be kind of in his prime, I would assume, if Palpatine's born in about 50 years later than when this is taking place. I feel like a young Plagueis would be kind of wreaking a little bit of havoc.
yeah,
You would
Legacy
think they
Nerd.
would use that, but Disney always seems to know better than we do, the fans. So they'll come up with something crafty.
Yeah. Will they
Uh,
retcon Palpatine's age? Do you think they'll deal with any of Palpatine here? Um,
Who knows,
there's
man?
been
It
rumors
just
of that as well.
that's
could
too
be.
much of a cop out, though, to kind of introduce Palpatine. I think fans are hungry to see a departure from that. They want to see something that they haven't seen before. They get excited for that kind of stuff. So I'm hoping that they can make it truly original and truly do something with this and give the fans something to get excited about. Really get something, get them going and making them want to come back and watch every week and talk about it on social media and have these discussions. That's really where the Star Wars, I think, fan base and the community really starts to come alive when something new is available to them.
Yeah, and good or bad, I hope that Carrie Ann Moss, I don't care if she's on the Sith or the Jedi, I don't care. I just hope she's a badass force wielding character.
Yeah. She still
I
has
hope
showed
so.
that she had a lot of life left in that Matrix movie that was ho hum. She
Heck
could
Yeah,
still act. She still could do her thing.
oh yeah.
the one they did for money. Legacy Nerd says this is supposed to be during the height of the Jedi Order, right? I suppose so. I kind of feel like the height is around the Old Republic, if you ask me. But I am not as versed with the High Republic, so I don't know if they're trying to make that the new height of the Jedi Order. It could be. So I want to say maybe. And he also says, Joe's right. Disney will figure out something to make this amazing. Just look at the great things they are doing with the Mighty Ducks, the game changers. Oof, I sense some sarcasm here. So yeah, I
Proper troll,
guess
proper troll.
there you go. There you go. You know what? If I had to take a guess right now, I would say that maybe Carrie Ann Moss is our big bad. I feel like it's a coin toss between her and Lee Jung Jae, who, if you only know him from Squid Game, you have to check out some of his other works. I I talked about the movie of his that he directed and also starred in that I saw at Fantastic Fest, and his character is a complete 180 from his character in Squid Game. He played sort of a government official protecting the president of South Korea, I believe. And so, fantastic movie. It was like a spy thriller based in the 80s, and he was incredible. And he also directed it. So I'm excited for The Acolyte. I'm excited to see what else they give us. And Joe, I'm hoping they give you the action you've been waiting for, sir. I feel like we're getting back to some lightsabers, some battles, some great choreography, some special effects. I feel like this is the time to really let loose.
Yeah, stop giving us the stupid flashbacks and let's get some substance here, man. I'm already tired of that crap. They started that with the Book of Boba. They continue to use it. I'm fed up with that, man. Just let's do away with that and give me some substance. I want to see some action. I want to see some Jedi and Sith going at it. I want to see some bodies hitting the ground. You know, come on, give us what we want.
I hear you, man. I hear you. Some other bit of news, and I know this came as a big shock to a lot of people, myself included. Um, if you were hoping for the final season of Westworld, which was announced to be season 5, that was going to be the final one. We're no longer getting it. Westworld has been canceled after 4 seasons, and I've been a huge fan since the beginning. I watched, I was confused, but by the end of the seasons, I was always completely on board. And so it is sad that they did not let the showrunners, the writers, what have you, kind of finish their story. But I'm agreeing with everybody that the first 2 seasons were the best parts of this series. 3 kind of took a stumble a little bit. It wasn't bad. It just wasn't the same caliber as the first 2 seasons. And 4 was probably better than 3, if you ask me, but it was still a big change. And I think the big changes they did really took the fandom out of just the excitement and the anxiousness for future seasons. So, unfortunately, no more Westworld. We will not find out how the story ends. And I say that now, but you know what? 5, 6 years down the road, they'll bring back half the cast and they'll say, okay, let's finish this, just like they did with Heroes, for example. They brought back half the cast. They said, let's do 1 season or let's try to do seasons and we'll see what happens. And it kind of wasn't the same. Nobody enjoyed it as much, and that's what happened with that. But I'm gonna ask you guys, Matty B. I'll start with you, sir. I already know what you're gonna say, but what are your thoughts on the Westworld cancellation?
I don't care, but I think it's actually I think it's a good trend for studios, streaming services, etc., to not get attached to shows that are obviously in severe decline. So I watched season 1 and 2 or 3 episodes of season 2, and I liked season 1. I mean, you're right. I mean, I just nothing. It really never caught for me, but that's just my opinion. But it's everyone else's opinion when you see those numbers really take stark declines, and that's what they suffered from. And so I actually like this because I don't want studios and streaming services to be attached to shows that are obviously in a state of decay. And so if it comes time and it's like, hey, it's just not working, boom, cut it, and then let's try something else. So that's kind of where I'm at with it.
Joe, what about you, sir? Any thoughts on the cancellation?
I think it's been a season or two too long already. They should have ended it after the second season. I think by prolonging third and fourth season, they just like Maddie said, they just prolonged the decay and the decline of the series itself. I mean, while it was great on paper, the execution was lacking. You know, I never really got into it after that. I guess second season, I just kind of fell off for me. I just stopped watching, and it kind of reminded me a little bit of the other series that again, it started off great in the first 2 seasons and just fell off. There was a series called Humans that kind of went along the same moniker as Westworld, where they had androids and some of them were alive and they had feelings and they had a soul, so to speak. They were their own person, You have that dynamic there where what do you call something if it has life and it's self-aware of itself and it can feel at that point it has a soul, so I get the whole aspect of behind what the series is, what it is at the end of the day, behind the scenes, so I respect that, but it's hard to do. There was even that short-lived, was it a movie that came out years ago? It was like AI, remember
Yeah,
that movie? Great on paper as far as like what the premise could be, but the execution was still lacking, so it's really hard to do this. iRobot had some issues too, so you can see how hard it is to try to execute this, uh, I guess, and do a great job about it. You're going to have a faction, a fan who's really on board, and the other faction who kind of falls off once the storyline starts to get a little bit weak. So you have to have a high quality story and have to have a high quality of character and execution to make it work. It's you're not going to be able to fool people who are watching these types of series because usually they're very intelligent. So it's like, don't insult them. Feed them some knowledge.
I gotcha. I gotcha.
Oh, there you go, Ted. Another one you left off of that iRobot and AI strain. I mean, let's not forget
Yeah.
about Bicentennial Man.
Oh, yeah, Bicentennial Man. Or was that other stupid one that came out years ago, Hugo? I was like, oh man, that was a stinker.
Well, I like I mentioned, this is something that award-winning show. It would win for writing, actors, effects, score, everything, right? So it's up there for sure. And I could see a scenario very easily where it goes away for a few years and HBO says like, we need something else. We kind of are running out of ideas here. What else do we have? Let's go to the shelf. What can we pull off the shelf? Ah, Westworld. Let's go ahead and finish that. We only got one season left anyways, right? Right, guys? Right? I mean, look at what's come out just recently. They what's the one with Ernie Hudson? He came back with that they rebooted. Shoot. I wish I
I
could
don't know,
remember
but
right
one of
now.
the series that comes to light that they canceled too soon, in my opinion, but it was because of the high cost of filming, was Lovecraft Country. It even
Yeah,
won awards, and they
It
canceled
was
it.
nominated for best
yeah.
series, and
You were
they
talking about
canceled it.
Quantum Leap.
Quantum
Oh,
Leap.
Quantum Leap, yeah.
They bring everything back. They brought
I
back
haven't
Quantum
seen the
Leap.
new one. Has anybody seen it? Have you seen it, Ted or Maddie?
No, not
No,
yet.
I haven't seen the new one yet. But
I might
um,
binge it once it's done.
on Westworld, and I think True Detective struggled with this too. And there's a certain faction of HBO writers, or whatever corner of the office everybody was sitting in on these shows, where they just really fell in love with really abstract ideas. And and those can play out really well. Sometimes those can play out for like a season or so, but um, it's just it's too abstract to like maintain at some point. And I feel like True Detective suffered from that a little bit too.
I think the problem that this show had was they brought everybody back. End of season 3, we lost a lot of folks, and there were some fan favorites that we lost, and it was a big bummer. Didn't think that there was any chance of certain characters, certain actors and actresses coming back. But in Westworld, you can make a copy of a copy of a copy. So they kind of brought back everybody, and it sort of has no stakes almost when you do that. It really takes any sort of tension and drama out of it a little bit. So you saw everybody back, even though they weren't acting like themselves, they were all acting like completely different people. It was a little jarring. And so maybe that's what it was for everybody else, because that's how it was for me. It took me a little longer to get invested in these characters again. But I would have loved to see how the show ends, because the place that it started compared to the place that we ended at season 4, huge difference. Like, we've gone through some stuff, and that's very likely what our own reality could look like one day. So it's a good blueprint of kind of what not to do. Legacy Nerd says, "You're right. They'll probably bring it back. Did y'all know there was a reunion season of the Gilmore Girls? So yeah, this will come back. LOL." Also, like 24, Fox will never let go of 24. They brought back Kiefer for a couple of seasons, then he went away, and then they tried to reboot the whole thing, and that kind of fizzled away too. So like,
They did
stuff
the same
comes
thing with
back.
the X Files, and it didn't work.
Yeah, didn't work, but they tried. They will try. They will think, we've got a good idea, and then it's the same idea, it's the same idea, it's the same idea. So yeah,
I
that's
think HBO is starting to learn a valuable lesson. They shouldn't just put out stuff to compete with everybody as far as quantity. It's more so quality. If you put out a quality product, people will gravitate towards that and watch it over and over again because it's just so damn good. The one of the series too that got canceled again after one series from HBO was Watchmen. You know, too much fanfare. It was great. Everybody liked it. It was getting a lot of attention from uh, I guess, other members of the academy as far as what they were doing over there because it was in the running to get awards and whatnot, and it ended after one season.
not canceled, not canceled. Always planned to be one season. It was
Yeah,
always going to be a limited series, so it was never canceled. The showrunner even Damon Lindelof even said, if they ask me to do another season, I'm gonna say no. It doesn't matter how much money they throw at me. I wrote a beginning and I wrote an end, and there's nothing after the end. So that's it. And
Yeah.
it was beautiful from start to finish.
I
Perfect
just want
start,
to see a
perfect
different
end.
continuation, then not with the same cast of characters, but a different derivative of Watchmen because there's so many unique characters in this universe that they can still write stories about. It'd be interesting to see if they can do that, even if it's like a prequel. Because if you ever read the graphic novels, they have prequels, or stories going back from way back when. One of them is about a pirate. So it's like it's interesting to see all the variation of the characters. So yeah, man, let's keep on telling the story. Just give
Well,
us something else.
HBO is in my opinion, the undisputed goat of TV shows. If you look at their catalog, I mean, they have The Sopranos, they have Oz, they have
Game of
Curb Your
Thrones.
Enthusiasm, Game of Thrones. I mean, like it goes on and on.
Hot
If you
Heat.
in the comedy realm too, I mean, they have
Yeah.
just a ton. So for me, it's like if I'm like a vinyl collector and I'm building my vinyl collection. I agree with you, Joe. It's not quantity. It's not I have more vinyls than you.
Yeah,
It's
quality.
like I said, these are the vinyls that I have, right? And so
No.
to me, that's HBO. Like all these other streaming services, you can fight for all this other stuff, but if you're HBO, you got to stick to quality. And they saw that that was declining, decided to get rid of it, and hopefully they replace it with something even
Yeah.
better.
So I wonder
Especially
what would you classify Rangs as far as vinyl goes?
rings on vinyl.
Rangs.
So like if it was like music, so like an album can go diamond, it can go platinum, it can go gold. I would say rings didn't even make aluminum.
Oof,
Maddie has no love lost for Rangs, dude.
none
I
whatsoever.
respect it. I respect it.
Moving on. Some potential big news, and I know there's gonna be a lot of people that are gonna say you're reading too much into this. I'm letting you know that there was a lot of people that said the same thing when we were trying to release the Snyder Cut. There is a million people saying you're reading too much into this. You're looking for things that aren't going to happen. You're wasting your time. I'm letting you know that yesterday, David Ayer himself, great director. Look at his list. Look at the movies he's written. Fury, Training Day. He's been a part of some awesome, amazing, all-time great movies. David Ayer tweeted yesterday, release the Ayer cut. The Ayer cut, if you haven't already heard from us or other sources, is his actual vision of Suicide Squad. Not only did Warner Brothers and the studio executives many, many years ago go to Zack Snyder and say, you need to start changing your movies. They had Zack rewrite parts of Batman v Superman. They had him rewrite Justice League. The Justice League that we got in the Snyder Cut, that's still Zack's version that's modified. It was supposed to be more action, more violence, more brutality. They had him tone it down, and eventually that's what we got with the Snyder Cut. David Ayer, we're not even we're not even in that same scenario where he has a version that needs to be worked on. David Ayer filmed his movie, and then the studio said, you have to change a bunch of stuff, and we're going to take over. And they took over. They added this whole plethora of like top 40 hits. That's when we got Queen involved, and that's when we got all these other songs like nonstop throughout the movie. And they brought in their own editor. David Ayer, I'm looking at the camera right now. David Ayer did not even get to edit the theatrical release of his own movie. That's how much his stamp is not really on the theatrical release, even though his name's on it. David Ayer has said multiple times over the years, I'm not going to worry about it. I'm not going to tweet anything about it. I'm just going to let it go. I got to move on with my life. I can't really worry about this any longer. For yesterday, for him to tweet, release the Ayer cut, it says something. It says that there's at least hope remaining, that we could see his already finished version of Suicide Squad. I'm talking like there's probably not much left to do. There's probably very limited editing that needs to be done or any post production whatsoever. This is a nearly complete, if not complete, film that he already has. And all Warner Brothers has to do is say, cool, we'll throw it on a DVD and a Blu ray and we'll sell it to the public and see what happens. And they can make some extra money on it because it's just sitting there not doing anything. The
I think
version
it's
we
wishful
got,
thinking on your part at this point, Teddy. I'm gonna
the
be honest, man.
version we got, the theatrical release that we got was so convoluted, it made no sense narratively that I was shocked. The guy that wrote Training Day, that directed Fury with Brad Pitt, Shia LaBeouf, I'm like, this guy can tell a story, and this one didn't seem like anybody was trying to tell a coherent story. And then we find out why. Studio took over everything, pushed him to the side, and said, we'll take it from here. And that's what happened. He has it. I'm just saying from right now, if in 1 month, in 6 months, in 6 years, we get an Ayer cut that's released, this will be the moment where I say, this is when we finally got hope. Before, I was like, it's probably a lost cause. Right now, with David tweeting this is the first sign of hope. That's all I got to say about that. Joe, you were saying something?
So I think you're just smoking on that Ayer pack right now, hard, man. I'm gonna be honest, dude, because I mean, I get, you're a big time fan, so you think right now you fanboy a lot, like you did with the Snyder Cut. And when the Snyder Cut was released, now it's because it was just you, but it was a plethora of other fans that were really on that movement. Let's get this done. Let's get this done. And finally, at that time, Warner Brothers, HBO, whatever, they finally decided to do that for the fans and give them a solid. But the cost to me just doesn't justify the means. I mean, at this point,
There's
you're
no
talking
cost.
about
It's
you're
done,
talking
bro.
there's always cost, Ted. You're talking about a movie that came out years ago. As far as production cost is what I'm
No
talking
production.
about.
Very little.
There's
They
always
they
production.
they gave no. There's no production cost. I'm telling
There's
you.
always production
I'm
cost.
telling you
Trust
because
me.
I've been following this.
You
I've been
saw the film
following it.
already?
Not
You saw the footage.
not seen the
You were there.
footage, but back when the Snyder Cut was getting released, David's like, "Hey, uh, I don't even have to do work on mine. Mine's done. Like all you have to say is yes because they have the distribution rights." David said this years ago, back in 2018. He was like, "It's done. All somebody has to do." One of these executives that have been like shitting on all of us for years, all one of them has to do is say yes. None of them
And
did.
then they say, yes, this cut's already done. It's already been produced. It's already got all this the shine to it as far as the special
Everything's done.
effects, the audio, everything. I can just go ahead and go into an editing bay, use my DaVinci Resolve, go ahead and just put it together and crank it out.
But
It's
but
never
that's
that easy.
that's But that's the only cost in movies. No,
There's
they'd have to pay high powered lawyers to go back to the actors again to sign new deals with them on what they're going to get the cut of it. What
It
if the
would be
actors
distribution cost. Yeah.
what if one of the actors is like, no, I don't want to add this again to my IMDb profile, and I've moved on from those movies, and I don't want to do this anymore. It's not as easy
Mm.
as just as cut and go. There's a lot of other things involved, and
There's
it sets a
distribution
bad
rights.
precedent for the studio to every time the fans say something that they're going to release a director's cut of
Exactly,
something. It
Maddie.
sets
Preach.
every
Preach.
time the director says, "Oh, my movie flopped," oh, it's gonna be, "Oh, just release my cut." I'd be like, "No, you know what we need to do?" And I tweeted this out there earlier today. Screw the Ayer cut. I'm gonna share this right now on the new Twitter, Matty B Geekcast. This is
oh, here we
this is
go.
this is what I'm gonna fight for here and now, and that is to release the Schumer cut. Okay, how far back are we gonna go on this thing? You know what I mean?
We'll
How
call
many
it right,
years is this?
Schumacher.
Schumacher. The Schumer.
Whatever. It release that cut then. I mean, how far back are we going to go on this stuff? The movie came out, the movie flopped, the studio made a bad choice. Ayer just needs to go sit in the corner and just be sad about it because that's how Hollywood works. And James Gunn shut him down too. We'll get into those statements, but James Gunn politely shut this whole thing down.
He knows. He knows this was a hot mess, and no matter of extra footage or whatever is going to make this any better.
Yeah.
It was a hot mess before. It's going to be a hot mess after, and it's going to cost too much to get everything out because you wanted to go direct to Blu-ray. You wanted to go direct to, let's say, video on demand and
Streaming.
whatnot. There's still cost involved with all that. You have licensing rights. You have a whole bunch of stuff. It's never that simple, Ted. That's what I'm saying. From a business aspect, there's still cost involved. And again, the newly coined DC Discovery, they ain't playing that game, man. They're like, we're not in the business to lose money. We're in the business to make money because they got a lot of debt that they acquired. That's why they're doing the smart thing and axing the shows that they need to axe and axing movies, much to the dismay of the fans. But it's a business, man. They're not UNICEF, you know.
I'm telling you that it doesn't. There's not a bad precedent because there's no other studios that have completely taken over productions like this.
Man.
Disney. You think Disney gets in the way of Kevin Feige when he's doing something? No. Disney says, "Look, you do your own thing." Star Wars, Lucasfilm. You know who runs and does everything? Lucasfilm does.
But
Disney is not.
everything they do is in gold.
Disney is not. Well, I'm not saying it is, but I'm saying is Disney is not going to Lucasfilm and saying we are taking over with our people. Warner Brothers went to um, these directors and said, "We are taking over. We're bringing in a new music advisor. We're bringing in a new editor. We're gonna rechop this movie and edit it in a certain way that we want to, that we think is going to be hip and cool and action packed and." Nobody enjoyed it that way. David Ayer had a vision and it wasn't fulfilled. And I'm not telling you that it's going to be free. What I'm telling you is it's going to cost a fraction of what it cost them
What David
to
Ayer is trying to
finish
sell you is a
the
premium
Snyder Cut.
product. He's trying to sell you a top tier product. But at the end of the day, you've seen what the film had to offer you. Now, if you go ahead and add a few extra scenes here and there, it's not going to change the context of the actual film. What
That's
he's
what they said
proposing is
about the
what
Snyder
making
Cut.
the Snyder Cut was an
That was the
entirely different
argument.
film.
That was the
It's
argument
an
with the Snyder
entirely
Cut.
different film.
What you just said was what everybody else was saying about the Snyder Cut. It's the same movie. You
It's an
can't polish
entirely
a
different
turd.
film.
They said you can't polish a turd. They kept
But how many
saying all these
scenes did they
stupid
have to
things.
reshoot? How much production?
But also the
None,
Snyder Cut,
none,
the Snyder
none,
Cut was
Yes.
still the
none.
Snyder Cut was still a B tier movie.
Oh no, it
It
was not. No,
it was a
was
very
not.
B tier
No,
movie.
that
I mean,
no, top tier, bro. That was gold. What are you
no,
talking
it
about?
was a B tier movie.
Okay.
And also, you said studios don't do this. If I were to go to our Countdown City Geeks TikTok and I were to pull up an interview, who would you interview recently? Was that Tyler Maine? Was that Tyler Maine and Rob Zombie? What happened to what happened to that film, Ted?
That was taken over by
No, man.
the Akkads, the Akkad family that owns the rights to Halloween. They
All I'm
are.
saying is, like, the movie comes out, it is what it is. We don't want directors every time that they have a movie flop, they're like, "Oh, release my cut." No, it is what it is,
But
and
I'm glad you bring that up because that's also a completely different situation. Rob didn't shoot his film. They took over Rob's story before he went into production. Rob didn't get a chance to make his movie. They forced him to change the whole story before they stepped onto the set. So there is no Rob Zombie cut of Halloween 2. If you wonder what we're talking about, go check out our TikTok and my interview with Tyler Main. But yeah, so yeah, completely different. Ayer shot his movie and they said, we want to do it a different way. We want it to look like, you know why? They wanted to copy Guardians of the Galaxy. They were like, Guardians of the Galaxy is the blueprint. We have to put top 40 hits in the background from like start to finish and have jokes nonstop. And it's like, this is the Suicide Squad. This isn't the Guardians. There's no talking raccoons here. Like, this is Harley Quinn, Joker, like completely different characters. But they wanted a Guardians of the Galaxy, and it wasn't the right move. But
It's like
David
this,
has
Ted.
his movie.
There's a good analogy.
Oh, here we go.
Astros, Phillies. They played the World Series, right? Astros won,
You already lost me. Yeah.
right? Astros won. So you're gonna tell me that the Phillies go, wait, wait, wait. If we could have another chance, we can win this time. It's already done, dude. It's over. They crowned
No,
their champ. You
it
can't go
would have
back
been
again.
like they played the game and then somebody
No.
said, "Oh, that game didn't count. You have to play this game where the Astros win." That's a better analogy.
oh, so you're talking about the 2020 election.
There
I'm
we
not
go.
even getting into that.
There we go.
Well, tomorrow's
Le-
election day. It was a poignant joke.
there you go.
Well,
Legacy
tomorrow's
Nerd
election day.
says,
Make sure you go vote.
Yeah, go
"Go
vote.
vote, people. Go vote." LON says, if they go back for anything, I want to see the apocalypse version of the Justice League move Snyder started. I'll even watch that with Ezra Miller and Amber Heard because it looked like that was interesting. Yeah, I completely agree. All that apocalypse nightmare stuff, I'm all down for that. This also
Release the
leads into
Schumacher
our
cut.
Schumacher, definitely. This also leads into our next discussion, which still involves DC, right? So James Gunn, he kind of finally went out on Twitter and talked about the future of DC properties, and he said opened up Twitter at the end of a long creative weekend to see the many tweets to save Legends of Tomorrow and released the Ayer cut and fan support for other DC projects over the years. The majority of these requests were enthusiastic and respectful. As the new and first ever CEOs of DC Studios, Peter and I think it's important we acknowledge you, the fans, and let you know we hear your different desires for the pathways forward for DC. Although our ability to interact on Twitter has been lessened due to the workload of our new positions, we are listening and open to everything as we embark on this journey and will continue to do so for the next few years. But all our initial focus is on the story going forward, hammering out new DCU and telling the biggest story ever told across multiple films, TV shows, and animated projects. We invite all of the DC fandoms across the multiverse and everyone else as well into this new universe. We can't wait to reveal more. And all I have to say is, well said, James Gunn, but releasing the air cut changes nothing of your future. All it does is show us exactly what his vision was, and then we let go of it. That's how that works. Because the characters that move forward still move forward. The characters, like nothing else changes, if you ask me. It's not like Deadshot was probably going to die in his version, and he was going to get used in the rebooted sequel. Like that didn't happen. Does Harley Quinn die in the first one? No, she doesn't. She shows up in the next one. I don't think anything changes. There's no risk involved. There's very little risk involved. It wouldn't affect, I think, what's going forward.
I gotta say
Any
one thing.
Go for it.
Legacy a nerd. I like your style, dude. His comments are always funny, dude.
Yeah.
There were more nipples, literally.
Yeah, except for on the suit we wanted to see it on, but I'm not going to get into that. Um, but but yeah, what he was saying is, we appreciate you, but we're moving on. And that's probably why we got this David Ayer stuff that's going on, because behind the scenes they're like, dude, let it go. We're moving on. And he's not like, it's like, maybe they should just give him another movie to direct and say, hey, well, here's your shot at it. Just try something else. But James Gunn was pretty clear there. You didn't have to read too between the lines
Yeah.
for him to be like, it's done.
Maybe he'll knock it out of the park this time, Teddy. They
Yeah.
give him another shot. Maybe he'll
Yeah.
win the World Series.
Yeah, maybe.
Ooh. Like I said, he can keep continuing to look at the future. He doesn't have to do anything with releasing the air cut. All he needs to do is just let it happen, and it happens, and then we go on from there. So I think it's still a possibility. Like I
I
said,
want it for you, Ted. I'm not against it. I want it for you, Ted.
boom,
He'd be the
boom.
only one to watch it.
I'm not against you and wanting it. I don't think that they should not release it. They're just not going to, and there's
Yeah.
reasons why.
They already shut the door on it and they said, we're not
Yeah.
doing it. We're moving on. It's a smart
Speaking
business decision. Smart business decision.
Speaking of moving on, the last part of this topic are some renewals. So we talked about the cancellation of Westworld. Real quick, just talk about some renewals that are worthy of discussing. If you watch the Dahmer series on Netflix, that is going to be more of an anthology series. So that is a monster series where they kind of show you the lives of some notorious serial killers. I think they renewed it for 2 more seasons, if I'm not mistaken. So expect maybe somebody like I don't know, the
You'll get
Zodiac
Gacy.
killer. You'll get
You'll get Gacy.
Gacy.
The Zodiac killer would be sick. That I didn't even think about that. But we saw. I thought that they were going to do this a little bit during Dahmer, because they started to bring in Gacy, and I was like, oh, okay, I see what they're doing here. And so I could see that definitely. The Zodiac killer would be sick.
The Zodiac would be cool. The Golden State guy. The
Oh yeah,
Golden State Killer would actually be one I really want to hear about because they actually caught that dude after like 50
23 and
years
me.
or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that would be a fantastic story. And he was one of the more notorious ones, like dozens and dozens of assaults and murders over like a decade. So I'm not trying to say like I want to see all this death and despair, but that was probably the most notorious person that was actually captured. Um, so I think it would be an interesting story to kind of talk about or
But
watch.
these are real life events though too. So I know there's a big contingent of folks who were glorifying serial killers. Well, we still make movies about war. We still make movies about a lot of things. Like sometimes you can just make movies about things that happen in real life. So I'm all for it. And Evan Peters was amazing in Dahmer, and
Yep.
so I'd love to see what they do next.
Legacy Nerd says they would probably do Gacy and Bundy. Yeah, I
Well,
wouldn't
Bundy
doubt
was
that.
just done by Zach Efron. I don't think they'll go down that path again. Bundy was just done
Done
very
really
recently.
well too.
Yeah.
The other items to talk about, The Watcher is getting a season 2 renewal, which I'm very happy about because the ending was not what I expected it to be. So
Wow.
if you
Never
watch The
even watched it.
Watcher, huh?
I never even watched it. My
I
wife
haven't
watched it.
I haven't seen it either.
I was actually like hesitant. I'm like, I don't think I'm gonna get into this, and it was a very eclectic type series. Um, and it went
Oh
into
wait,
some
I did watch
places
it.
I didn't know it was gonna go, but
Maddie
I
was
was
watching The
intrigued.
Watcher. No pun intended.
I did. I did watch. I watched it with Lauren.
And
Oh, you said you
Netflix.
wouldn't watch no chick flicks. Ah, caught him. Got him. We got him on camera and on tape now, Teddy.
Other than The Watcher, which is more like a thriller type series, they're also going to renew The Sandman, which was expected. So The
Really?
Sandman
I
is
thought they
getting
canceled
its
it.
no, it is coming back. Sandman's coming back for another season.
Are you sure?
Awesome.
I don't believe this. Are you
Everything
spreading
I speak on
misinformation, Teddy?
here, everything I speak on here is gospel.
Oh yeah.
Know this. All right.
I'm
Legacy
gonna have
Nerd
to check your
says
facts, man. I'm looking back here.
Legacy Nerd says must be good because I don't even know what eclectic means. When you watch it, you will understand. It's out there. it's a mystery thriller, I would say. Tries to be a horror kind of project every now and then. It was worth watching, and I'm glad, very glad, we're getting a second season. I heard it was based on a true story, but I'm not willing to report that as knowledge that I
It
have
was supposed
because
to be more
I
like
didn't
kind
hear
of like
that.
a it was like a who done it sort of thing, right?
Yeah, I
Um,
would say
What,
so.
yeah,
The
Sure.
Watcher?
yeah. The Watcher was kind of like a who done it. The family buys the house, but all the neighbors are really creepy. They start getting these letters that someone's watching them. They're
Yeah.
being judged. Obviously, it drives the dad crazy. He starts to lose his job. Yeah, I did watch it.
Man,
I was
Matt
like,
really
dude, I
got
did watch
into
it.
it. Maddie got into it. All right.
There you go. There you go.
um, but it was pretty good. And Legacy of Nerd doesn't know what eclectic means. If you've seen this man's toy collection, okay, I think he
That's
knows
what
what
it is.
eclectic means.
That's what it is.
Well, it just
Uh,
depends on what kind of toys we talking about.
Both of those, both of those. He has a
hey,
whole different Twitter page for the other ones.
Wow. A
that's a
burner. He
whole other
probably got a
channel.
burner for that.
That's a whole other channel. All
Yeah,
right,
that's
let's
another
let's get in.
discussion for another time.
Let's get into some TV shows, shall we?
Yeah,
Season 4 premiere of DC Titans. I wish I had the song right now. Da 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 da.
I've never
Two
even watched it.
episodes.
Never even watched it. I don't feel like I'm missing out.
What are you doing to me, Joe? What are you doing to me?
I'm just being honest. I never watched it. Don't have any desire to watch it.
Well, we'll try and get through
In fact,
these.
this is my cue to bow out here and get me a refill. I'll be back, gentlemen.
Go
go
get a
for it, Joe.
refill. Take your time. There you go. All right. Titans season 4, episode 1, titled Lex Luthor. You know how we do. We always start with a summary, and it goes a little something like this. We catch up with the Titans while bowling. Grayson drops the news to Connor that Clark wants to meet, introducing Titus Welliver as Lex Luthor, who walks into the Temple of Azrath. We also meet Sebastian Blood, aka Brother Blood, who may or may not be causing nightmarish hallucinations for people. The team heads to Star Labs, where Tim gets a new bow staff. Corey, we find out, is only using about 8% of her power, and Clark cancels his meetup with Connor, but Lex wants to have a meeting of his own. Corey meets first, while Lex sends a group of ninjas to meet with Grayson. Got a nice little fight scene there with Grayson. Turns out Lex might be dying, and Connor might be the closest thing he has to a blood relative and could be able to save him. He and Connor meet, but not so fast. Lex starts panicking, vomiting a dark magic snake, and dies. First episode, jeez. Connor
Mhm.
will be able to explain his way out of this, and Miss Bennett, aka Mother Mayhem, probably had something to do with it. So you watched the first episode of Titans.
Yeah,
I don't know if you've watched the other seasons, but what did you think of this one?
I caught bits and pieces of the other seasons. Obviously, there was good episodes in those, but they were few and far between.
Yes.
Um, we open up here. Of course, we're in a bowling alley, the most mundane place for super kids to be. And so at first, I'm already like, "Oh gosh, is this on the CW?" But then it really did kind of take a turn for me a little bit there, and I really love Dick's role as sort of the Batman of this Justice League, if you will. You know, he's kind of the leader. He definitely plays it very close, like a Batman. The only thing that annoys me so far is just Connor. You know, he's this whole I deserve to know who my parents are, and even though I know they're super bad, like I'm just so conflicted and confused. Even though I'm a superhuman,
Yeah.
find something else to worry about here. Got caught up a little bit into the melodrama. I love Rachel throughout this episode, um, and it's just this fight scene with Nightwing. First of all, this is one of the coolest superhero suits ever.
Yes.
The Nightwing suit, anytime that he goes into action, I love it. But we did have a little bit of, I guess, setting us up for what's kind of going to be happening here a little bit in the season with Beast Boy having his little bit of a meltdown there in this first episode in the lab. Sort of goes rogue. I guess he turned into a velociraptor, an armadillo, and all these other sorts of things, and wrecked this entire lab. And we'll get into that a little bit more in the second episode of this as well. But overall, I think this is definitely much better than some of the episodes that I had seen in the previous seasons. It gave me a little bit of hope, kind of moving forward, and I really liked episode 2.
You are not wrong about your overview of this first episode. Our biggest criticism of this series is that in the first 3 seasons, there is very little time spent as a team. It would make sense in the first season because they're sort of finding each other one at a time, bit by bit, converging on an issue that they're all impacted by. It made sense in the first season. Second season, they're all doing their own thing. Third season, they're all doing their own thing. And it's like, when does this ever happen? Legacy and Nerd, the Power Rangers, you know what they do? They do stuff as a team. They go to places as a team. They fight as a team. They battle villains as a team. And so this is a very good start to see this group, um, interacting with one another. That's just a very simple thing fans want. We want to see them interact with one another time and time again. Show us that dynamic. Show us what those relationships are like. How do they change over time? That's what we want to have in a show. We don't want Corey and Raven hanging out, episode 1, not seeing each other for like 6 or 7 episodes, and then at the very end they kind of meet up again and like everything's all honky dory. That's not the way to do it. So yes, this is a very good way to start the season. This is a great suit. I wish they would figure out to make it a little bit more. There is some parts of it that seem kind of bulky, and I wish they would figure out a way to thin it out a little bit more. But it's near perfect. I love it. It's great. I want the fighting scenes and the choreography. I want the camera to stay on the action a little bit more. I really don't like it when there's too many cuts in a fighting sequence because you don't get a chance to appreciate any of the movements, any of the hits, the flips, the kicks. You kind of miss a lot of that when there's too many cuts. Look at Daredevil. How many uncut sequences do we have across that series? 3, 4, and those are the most talked about ones because you get to see everything happen from start to finish. Um, so please, 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 I hope the rest of the season's not like this, where too many cuts, too many jump cuts during the fight
Especially
sequences.
when your characters, or at least this character in particular, is wearing a mask. So I
Yep.
mean, it's like, for characters without a mask, it gets a little bit more difficult. But you could throw a stunt person in there and really do some sick fight scenes. I agree. And this fight scene also annoyed me because Tim Drake really annoys me. He's just kind of a pussy, and it's really kind of annoying because I really want him to like have a chip on his shoulder sort of thing. It almost seems like he's reluctant to be in this life, but these are just his friends. Um,
And to be fair, they started season 4 like days after season 3,
yeah,
and they only kind of found him towards the second half of season 3. So he hasn't had enough time to really get incorporated with this team. And Grayson even has a line where he says that he's like, you've only been with us a few days, relax, like you're not gonna jump into anything right away. So it is unusual that they decided to do that. It hopefully means that they're going to incorporate some sort of interesting dynamic with that. Like maybe, his suit will come together over time, or we'll get to see him put it on for the first time. They didn't want maybe to steal that moment from us. Just giving him a suit and saying like, "Oh yeah, yeah, he's a badass now." That could have been stealing those moments away from us. So hopefully, it's all for a good reason.
yeah, he's gonna have to
Like
step up at some point.
absolutely. Legacy Nerd says my only issue so far this season is we are ignoring Dick has a secret identity now. It is interesting. So he goes to a few places and he, meets people as Dick Grayson, but I don't necessarily know if they know he's Nightwing.
But that's
But
in
you could
Metropolis, right? That's not in
in
Gotham.
Metropolis, yeah.
Yeah.
And you could also maybe say like, oh, some people should know if he's hanging around the Titans that he's kind of the guy that looks like he would be Nightwing anyways. So yeah, I can see both sides to that. He's not telling people he's Nightwing, but also it's like the Power Rangers. Sorry, Legacy Nerd, walking around always wearing the color of their Power Ranger outfit. It's like somebody's gonna catch on eventually, right? Right?
Yeah.
Right?
Another thing for Legacy and Nerd here, before we get into his next comment, was if you watch this scene, Legacy, did the ninjas in this scene not look a little bit corny? Did they not look a little bit like the Power Rangers movie when they
Oh
got
yeah,
their suits? I mean, it was almost like identical to that.
I could see that. I could see that. Sure, they were just rent cop ninjas. Like they weren't
Yeah.
even that
Well, I mean, also,
formidable
I
to
mean,
begin with.
there's
But it
6
is
of them,
Nightwing.
and they couldn't take out one person, so they're not that great at
No,
ninjas.
and I like Grayson's attitude. We rarely see him sort of have any swagger when he's kind of fighting in
Yeah.
previous fights. It's always he's being very serious, very stoic when he's going up against like a Deathstroke or something. But in this one, you kind of see him like, fucking hate ninjas.
Yeah, because
So
they're
I
light
I
work
I
for him,
dig
you
it.
know?
Yeah. I dig it.
It's like
Why
the
do I have to
foot.
be ninjas?
He's fighting the foot.
Ninja
Um,
finish.
but what did you think about Lex? And his like that was very interesting how he came and sort of
I'm
went in this episode.
I'm hoping that this is not just more stuff that this show does, because listen, if you've been watching us, and I'm sorry I keep saying that, but we always say like that was a weird choice they made. Like we say that more often about this show than any other
Yeah.
show that we've ever talked about. We always say stuff like that was a weird decision they made to do this, or to not show us that. Like there's just weird decisions that they do.
Right, like trying to
And
turn
this is
Cal El into a bum dad. Like he can fly to another galaxy and handle this. He couldn't just hop over real quick and just meet this kid.
well, he was like on the other side of the galaxy, like you mentioned.
Oh, for sure, but
It's kind of like, I think it's like it really is a story arc that we kind of see time and time again between Clark and Connor anyways, where Clark's always kind of like very nervous to meet him because he's never had a kid before, up to this point, and he doesn't know what to do, and he didn't really have a choice in having this kid. So it's always been a weird hey, how's it going? I didn't know you existed type of thing.
but
So
knowing that the danger of Lex getting him and influencing him should have been enough for Superman to step up to the plate there and take him under his wing just to even prevent him from getting to Lex.
there you go.
But whatever.
Legendary says, I'm also wondering if they're introducing the red with Beast Boy. That would be amazing. I think that's a possibility. He says the red connects all animals, humans, basically anything with blood, like how Swamp Thing is connected to the green. I hope so. I feel like, this first episode or these first two episodes, they're setting up a lot of questions. And one of these questions is what the hell is going on with Beast Boy? Is he being affected by this dark magic? It kind of feels like that's a possibility, but it could also be a completely different issue that he's having, and they'll probably have to explain it to us eventually. Since this season clearly deals with blood and Sebastian Blood, it would make sense they're going this way with Beast Boy. Yeah, no, I agree. He says these were Beverly Hills ninjas. Yes, they were. And there was a tease on Instagram today with Lex still tweeting on his account after he died. I saw that. I don't know if that was just a promo. I didn't read all the tweets, but maybe it's something like that. I don't know. Now I have to go look it
Yeah.
up.
And another thing important to point out before we start to talk about episode 2 is there is a scene here in episode 1 where Connor is in the room with Lex Luthor. Lex Luthor's kind of giving him the stuff that he wants, obviously manipulating him, and asks him if he'll stay. Connor says, yeah. So he says, okay, well, let me tell you what I'm doing here. And so he walks over to this book. He opens up this book and he starts talking about how, he had this idea, but his partners might have darker ideas in mind. And in that book there that's opened up, you see a few illustrations, a few drawings. One of those drawings is a mask that we're going to see in episode 2. So I think they're doing a good job of, like, if you're paying attention,
Yes.
of like leading us into what this is going to be. And I'm excited about it. And seeing this Lex Luthor, we know Lex is not gone. Lex Luthor is not gone.
I want to believe that, but like I mentioned, I've been the one to be like, that's a weird decision they've made. So yeah, this is what Legacy Nero was talking about. These tweets from Lex Luthor, played by I said it earlier, played by Titus Welliver. The Batman fears me. When will you learn, Superman? That was on Halloween. Then he says, "My power will be greater than that of any superhero on Earth." And that was on the first. Metropolis has no idea of the power I'll soon unleash. That was relatively yesterday. And then this dropped. The time has come. There's no escaping the wrath of Lex Luthor. And that says an hour ago. So are they trying to tell us that he's doing these in real time, or are they trying to just, promote the show, get more viewers? I could see it either way. If they tell us that this version of Luther is in fact dead as a doornail, like, I'm gonna believe them, and I'm just gonna go with it, and I'm just gonna like forget about it because it's episode 1, and there's way more episodes to talk about and discuss and happen. And this dropped 10 hours ago. So 10 hours ago, or 11 hours ago, because Luther tweeted an hour before that. So maybe it's in real time and they want to show us, like Legacy Nerd said, they're teasing the return of Luther. Very possible, especially in a universe where we already know the Lazarus Pit exists, or a version of it, shall I say.
Wouldn't this be much sicker though if DC just actually had that handle and was releasing this stuff in real time of the show? When I first saw that picture, I was like, "Holy! I didn't know Lex Luthor had an account, like, from the show. It's verified and everything." I was like, "How cool would it be if a lot of shows did that, where they wanted to make it seem like it was in your world and Lex Luthor was actually tweeting these things, but that account doesn't exist." So that leads me to believe it might just be a marketing thing. But it would be a really cool thing for DC to do if they actually created that account and was like tweeting in real time for fans to get excited. Plot points of the show. I mean, that's insane. That's a whole different, like, fourth wall breaking thing.
Absolutely. Legacy Nerd says Superman does do that eventually, but he also deals with his DNA being stolen and merged with his arch enemy. He has to work it out first. And General Kenobi's in the chat. Hello there. And he does say that will be cool, referencing the return of Juan
Yeah,
Luther,
I'm waiting for
which
somebody to send us some stars. That way, Maddie can do a little dance for us, man. We got to get at least 100.
do a little
100.
And I'm
dance.
and I'm not wearing pants.
Oh
Oh no,
no,
we're gonna get banned
we're gonna
real
get
quick.
banned.
Let's go over to episode 2 real quick,
Yeah.
titled Mother Mayhem, and we'll try to get through this a little faster. Connor is locked up, and the team doesn't have much to go on other than this must be magic. Guard's having issues of his own as he keeps blacking out after hearing voices in his head. Rachel examines a crime scene and leads them to a residence where they find a young girl still trapped in a nightmare with the boned face man. They track him to a slaughterhouse where he collects the blood of his victims. Rachel captures the bone faced man, and as she removes his mask, revealing Arthur Holmwood, he bursts into flames. Connor is released, and on their way out of the city, they are confronted by Mother Mayhem. After a brief skirmish, Mayhem retreats, and Rachel supposedly loses her powers. Dun dun dun. Maddie B, your thoughts on episode 2?
I really like this episode, to be honest. There was a lot of, like, almost like horror elements to this episode that I really thought put a cool tone on it, a level of seriousness to it. and then with the little girl, and obviously the man in the mask, and going through all of that was did you get horror vibes from that, Ted?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
I thought it was really good. Having Rachel kind of sit down with Superman there at the end. Obviously, he's in this like kryptonite cell, and kind of talking about where they're going to go. Overall, I mean, I thought it was an awesome episode. I want to know what the deal is with those bodies that were hanging. We,
Yes,
we we didn't really figure out, because it seemed like they were alive. They weren't responsive. The team starts to get them together, and then you know uh, what's his name has to go help. Why am I getting lost in this? Nightwing.
Nightwing.
Yeah, he gets distracted, and it's like, oh, I gotta go help her out because she's obviously dealing with something here, and that's when we see that masked figure sort of burn up. We did catch a little bit of the face, though. They did make sure to let us see the face a little bit before the body burned up, but I don't know
Absolutely.
if they were able to catch and see who it was. But I think it's setting up these illustrations that Lex Luthor had in that first one that I was talking to you about. I think they're going to have to. There's like mini bosses along the way. I think they're going to have to like take out somebody else with another one of these artifacts each episode here until they can unlock whatever the final boss is. But that's the way it looked like it was setting up to me. But I love the tone and pacing, and I like the episode a lot.
This is a much better start to the show than have been in previous seasons. Although I think they released 3 episodes last year, and it felt like those started off really good as well. I think I forget what happened, but yeah. Anyways, this is a good start. I do like the horror elements. We talk about how much I like scary movies, and so them incorporating all that, I'm digging it. Yeah, I'm on board. This is a good start. I want to see what happens going forward. I want this team to stay together. By all means, I hopefully they listen to the fans, and the fans all said the same thing. Like, why are we not seeing these people interact with one another? We need to keep doing this going forward. So I hope so. And it's great that we're seeing sort of the bigger DC world around them. Superman does exist, and we're visiting Star Labs and all this stuff. We didn't get a lot of that in the past. There are some things they're not allowed to do. It feels like they're pulling back those thresholds a little bit, those gates that they would put up, those walls they would put up around this show, and hopefully, we're able to kind of see more of the bigger DC universe around them. So I'm excited. I'm excited. I like this cast. I like these characters. Everything's going really well for now, and I want it to stay that way. And I'm intrigued. So hopefully, this is a good sign for a new Titans season. I'm crossing my fingers. I'm hoping for the best, but we've always sort of been, like I mentioned, we've sort of been disappointed. There's always things that just are baffling that they decide to do. And I don't want to talk about it right now, but you can go
Well, I
watch
haven't
those
seen Titans,
previous
but just let me
episodes.
know. Do they have Silky in here?
No Silky, unfortunately.
I would watch if they brought Silky in.
That would
Yeah,
be
and
cool.
the elongated man too. Next, we'll do that.
Let's see. Legacy Nerd says yes. This episode is definitely the darkest thing they've done. It seemed like a real, almost movie horror vibe. Yes, and he says so. At the end, they stole Trigon, right? I believe so. I don't know if it's in the staff of Mother Mayhem. There's kind of like a brief glimpse of red. I kind of feel like she kind of took it, and that's where it's at. But yeah, General Kenobi says, "Do you think it's because the CW shows are winding down? They get a little more freedom to use the big names. I think they've just been kind of doing that over the last few years, especially after the major CW Crisis on Infinite Earths crossover event. They really established like all of these shows that you watch are set up in their own universes, and so you can have multiple Supermen and multiple Batmen, and we're not affecting the films, we're not affecting this show, we're not touching on that show. So they've been doing a better job of trying to explain to us, like, this is the entire map, and we all have designated numbers for these shows, and so you can understand that this Superman is different on this show. Which, I mean, I don't think we'll see him on this season, but that statue doesn't look like any other Superman we've had before. So that would be interesting if they decide to cast somebody else. I've always said, if Henry Cavill didn't come back, Matt Bomer, who's already on Doom Patrol, Matt Bomer would be a great Superman. He would look fantastic in the tights. But like I said, he's already
Yeah.
on Doom Patrol, and I don't think that's going to happen.
Well,
And it
one thing
says,
we do know is that the writing team and the marketing team are locked in, which is always a good sign because this episode 2 came out on November 3rd, which is as close as they could get it to Halloween. And the subject matter of the episode was very tied into people's emotions during the time. If they stay locked in like that, I mean, don't give me a Christmas special, but if they stay locked in like that, I think that we're in for a treat.
absolutely. Kenobi says, and yeah, they sort of always start strong and then they go off the rails. Yeah, you're not wrong. We've been saying that since season one. Legacy Nerd says, did y'all catch that Superman has been around for 40 years? Ooh, no, I missed that. Interesting call
Yeah,
out.
I did too.
They could be hinting at a Reeve Superman, potentially a my buddy Brandon Routh.
Oh
Maybe
man,
he's the Man of Steel of this universe. You know?
well, that would be cool. But don't Luke Skywalker deep fake Christopher Reeves into the fucking
Oh
Superman
no!
suit here.
Oh no! That would be terrible. Like the public has known about him for 40 years. Yeah, that'd be crazy if they're trying to extend the Reeve Superman, and Brandon Routh might be who they kind of use as the face of this Superman. We want to hear from you guys, other than Legacy Nerd and Kenobi, which thank you very much for joining that topic. If you're watching us later on video, please drop in the comments your thoughts about the first two episodes of season 4 of Titans. And where do you think it's going? We want to hear from you. And if you're listening to this on the podcast form of this show, you can always email us on the contact page of our website at www.countdowntothegeekcast.com. Coming up next is a favorite for these two guys in the chat right now. It's Andor,
No,
episode 9. Joe, your favorite, Joe, right, Joe? Joe? Joe, you still
no,
there?
man.
Joe?
I'd rather somebody squeeze a lemon or something in my eye.
Andor episode 9, titled "Nobody's Listening."
Nobody
Maybe they
was
just
watching.
meant Joe. Joe's not watching. That's what they really wanted to say. We're gonna start this episode off as we start all our episodes, and that's with a summary that's a lot shorter, and it goes like this. Bix's question about Luthen, or who the ISB calls Axis. Vel makes a surprise visit to her cousin. Olaf is no longer with us, but his death helps to pass along the information we were most afraid of. No one really leaves this prison ever. And also, forget his name. Andy Serkis
Andy
character.
Circus, yeah.
Kino,
Yeah, Kino. He
Kino.
finally comes around at the end of this episode. He needs to get off this prison. So kind of a setup episode, and I think that's what Joe was afraid of, is more setup episodes.
It's always setups, man. I'm like,
But we are in for a big prison break. So Joe, I'll start with you, man.
I'd have
Any
broken out of this prison
positives?
already, dude. I would have broken out of this freaking prison already. It's not rocket science. It's all has to do with physics and science. Physics and everything that's going on with this. They can't touch the floor with their feet because they'll get electrocuted. Doesn't
They
every
can't touch
single
with
one of
anything,
doesn't every single one of these prisoners have clothes, right?
right?
You're going to tell me that none of them have figured out, let me make some moccasins out of my clothes, touch the floor, and now I can go and walk anywhere I want to walk unimpeded.
Isn't this like electricity though? You need like a rubber sole or something to kind of.
Yeah, cloth isn't
It's an insulator, but they also have other
I
things
don't
at
think
their
it's gonna protect
disposal.
them.
They also have other things at their disposal. They have a plastic freaking plate. They have everything they need to make some freaking shoes.
Could be,
I'm
could
like,
be.
bro, come on. I'd
You
be like,
might,
hey,
you
man,
might be right.
you gonna use your plate, bro? No, can I have it? I'm out of here. I'm just saying it. I mean, if they do in fact wind up breaking out because they fashion some type of shoes to insulate their feet, using their clothes or the even the little plastic plate that they have for eating and all that kind of stuff, I'll be like, man, it took you how many episodes or how long did you all prolong this stuff? I'm done with this, dude. I'm done with it. They took too long to set up the other aspects of the show. Okay, well, let's go ahead and get Caspian or whatever Andor, to the planet so they can go ahead and do their heist. They do the heist. The brother gets out, goes on a sabbatical on vacation, and then gets put in jail again. I'm like, come on, man, Th- give me something else. I would have rather he'd been captured in the heist and put in jail than to him to escape, have the money, and then still get put in jail anyway. You know?
I will say that I think that without telling us, there was some time that passed. Like there was a good amount of time where Cassian was just laying low, chilling in Miami or what looks like Miami, with
South
some
Beach.
with some brunette, and he was he was cool. He was chilling.
He could have gone
Some
anywhere in the
time
galaxy,
passed.
and you're gonna go to South Beach. What the
Well, that
freak is wrong with you, man?
he was used to like cloudy, gloomy weather, lots of rain. He wanted the opposite. He wanted some sunshine, some warm weather. Is what he told his mom. He's like, let's go somewhere where it's warm, where we can sit in sand.
Yeah, but the thing was, I think that the premise was this whole time is no matter where you go in the galaxy, it's always going to be ruled by the Empire. There's going to be some type of presence there. There's nowhere for you to really go that
Yeah,
you're going to be safe. So you got to try to blend in the best you can. Going to South Beach isn't the isn't the way to do it. It's like for everything that he can do, and he's a survivor and all that, he's pretty stupid when it comes to actually trying to remain inconspicuous. You know?
wrong place, wrong time. I think the Empire's just on higher alert, and now they're really just locking up people for any reason these days, and
Yeah.
so it's just wrong place, wrong time.
Yeah. But the one thing that really struck a chord, I think, with me and probably with all the other viewers as well, is that the Empire is just basically looking for a reason just to get anybody off the street and put them in this prison because they need cheap labor.
Cheap
They're
labor,
cheaper than
baby.
droids. That's it. That's what you're here for. That's your purpose. If you get put in, you're not going to be making license plates. You're going to be making some type of weapon or something that the Empire needs for their cause. And then when they're
Facts.
done with you and you've expired, they're going to just basically kill you, or you're going to try to escape and get killed, but or you just die there like that poor old soul. That poor son of a bitch. He freaking died on the job. It's like there's really no escape at this point. You're just there for one purpose. You're just there for labor, man. It's kind of sad, how they treat everybody at this point. They just see them as property,
That's right.
as a tool, a utensil.
Absolutely. They're just Walmart employees. And Matty B, your turn, sir. Your thoughts on Andor episode 9.
I'm starting to understand the show a little bit more. It reads more like a book than it watches like a TV show, and I'm starting to get that the more episodes that I go through. It's a very interesting thing. So Andor right now, him getting captured and being in this prison for much longer than what was previously sentenced, is all a direct consequence of his actions, and that's the actions of robbing that bunker. And so now the Empire has gone on to high alert, and they're sentencing everybody to sort of say, hey, you don't mess with us, and if you do, things are going to get a lot harder out here. Also, we get into the fact that we find out that this prison doesn't return people back They just keep them in cycle, and it has to do with cheap labor. It has to do with a little bit of that. It also has to do with the biggest secret that the Empire is keeping right now, and that's they're building a Death Star. And so all of these parts and all of these things that these prisoners are building and experiencing and seeing could potentially release that secret to the galaxy. And if that's done too prematurely, then Palpatine has a big political mess on his hands. And so like a lot of it really makes it makes a lot of sense. I agree that we could have a little bit more action for sure, but again, it's just reading like a book, not watching like a TV show, and it's something that you'd have to be interested in. The same thing you told me, Joe, about the Rings of Power, and it
Ranks.
and so it's yeah, I think that that's where we're at. I am excited because I think that next episode is going to be action packed. And then we only have after that episode that's going to be action packed. We know because they're going to be trying to escape. We only have two more episodes of that left in the season.
Thank God.
When I actually look back at it, I think there was a little bit more than I gave it credit for in the beginning of some substance and things to pay attention to. So I've came around on Andor a little bit, and I understand where they are in the Star Wars galaxy, and it's just reading like a book. That's all.
Andor is just the sci-fi version of Rings. Rings is fantasy. Andor is sci-fi. It's the same type of the same side of a different coin. Same damn thing. Same damn thing.
Oh man, Joe, tough critic, tough critics here. Uh, General Kenober says, "Why do you think there's no aliens in the prison? You know that could be a thing, or there's just no aliens on this floor.
He was
Maybe
right. The visual
aliens."
budget cost, man. They
His
didn't have
idea
enough
was
money for that.
visual budget cuts. Yeah, pretty expensive show. Let's save some money here and there. That could
Save
definitely
money
be a
on the
thing.
CGI.
That could definitely be a thing. Wasn't there? I feel like there was a couple of dudes maybe passing by in line that looked like they were not human, if I'm not mistaken. But it could also be just, they keep maybe certain species together, maybe on separate floors. What I think the show tried to tell us, but it was really hard to convey, was that this complex is not like miles tall. It's like hundreds of miles tall, and information passes really slowly from floor to floor. So
Unless you know sign language.
it's a lot bigger and way more vast than we're actually able to see. I was actually hoping they would show us, but they were saying like, it takes a week for translation or messages to come up from whatever floor it was that they were referencing. And so this place has to be massive, if what they're saying is true or if what they're saying is to be believed. So it's kind of really hard to show us that, but that's what I'm taking from that.
I think it's a
I'm
director's choice too, because I think it's a creative choice to really try to humanize the struggle,
There you go.
and it's more difficult to do that. Um,
It's a struggle watching this series, man. I'll tell you that.
I'm really hoping that the next episode is the jailbreak, the prison break. That last line from Andy Serkis' character, "There's never more than 12." The entire episode, he is so resistant to Cassian to tell him any information whatsoever. He's like, "Nope, you can't get anything out of me. Don't worry about it. Just do your job." Yada yada yada. And the very last line of the episode, "There's never more than 12." Let's go, baby. He's ready to roll. He's sick of
Man,
this
I would have
shit.
already been gone. I would have already been gone. I'll send you all a postcard.
It's really cool. It's really cool. Just that turn, switch that he flips at the end of this episode. It's on, baby. It's on like Donkey Kong. I'm all here for it. I'm just glad to see Andy Serkis in anything really. I know he's been more behind the camera instead of in front of the camera more recently, but yeah, great to see him in the Star Wars universe, and I hope he makes it out. We'll see what happens
You know,
with
another
that
thing I
though.
thought about too, your low tech way to go ahead and maybe defeat this thing. If one person stands on there or you're separated, you're completing the circuit, right? Simple science and simple physics. If you have more than one person holding hands and not touching anything, you're not completing the circuit, meaning that the electricity can flow straight through you. It's only when you touch another metal object that it has a conductor. So as long as you don't touch shit, you'll be fine if you have more than one person to complete that cycle.
I feel like I've been electrocuted. Not really. Like I've felt a very low amount of voltage, and you could still really feel it. So I feel like
You
no
can
matter
if
what,
you
you don't want to feel it.
I'm just saying you can survive if you have more than one person to carry that load.
I got you. I got you.
Or you can short out the system. You can look for ways to do that. They have a whole bunch of stuff in their little bunks that they can use for that as well. I'm saying I've been gone, Ted. I'm out.
I mean, it's a great facility, and they said the one place where they can get electrocuted is that elevator where they're lowering people up and below onto the production floor. So something has to be incorporated with that. If nobody can get electrocuted on there, you put as many guys as you can on it, and when they come after you, you just start taking them out one by one. I mean, maybe that's what they're going for.
Yeah. Well, all that's really going to happen is that they're going to cause a distraction. Multiple guards are going to have to come. Cassian, being the warrior he is going to help to take them out with Andy Circus. They're going to steal their boots, and then they're going to get out of there because there's no weapons. All they have to do, really, the thing that they really have to avoid more than the floors is the that device that they have. Um,
It just
whether
activates the floor, but if you're insulated, it's like, brother,
no,
hit the button all you want.
no, it's like a really high pitched noise, or like it like freezes you in place. It wasn't the
It electrocutes them. Electrocutes them because they're not wearing any shoes or insulators.
But it's a really high voltage, Joe. Like
I'm just saying,
when
dude. Simple
when
physics,
he
Teddy.
when he first
Look at Legacy of Ned. I'm telling you, Legacy of Nerd. He says, I'm telling you, a snack cart and a good push will do it. He ain't lying.
this isn't United Flight 91. Okay, we're not
Telling
breaking
you, man.
in. We're not breaking into a captain's cockpit
Man,
on
I'm
nine
already
eleven.
over there on South Beach, and you and Teddy here are still talking about breaking out.
Well, that's why you're about to get locked up, acting
No,
unruly on
man,
South
I'm
Beach.
gone. I'm
locked
gone.
up,
I'm gone. I'll be like, cheers, brother.
and then Andy
Look me
Circus
up when y'all get out.
discovers he is force sensitive, decides to leave for the unknown regions, and learns a lot of dark side powers, and then comes back 6 years later as Snoke. I'm ready. The origin story we never knew. Then Ahsoka will show up with Bail Organa, Jimmy Smits. I'm all here for it.
I'm
Um,
here
I'm
for that. That would have made this series palatable.
I'm really hoping this Prison Break is the next episode. I don't want any more
They're
stepstones.
prolong. They're gonna prolong it another
Well,
episode, Ted.
No, I think you're gonna have three crazy episodes of Andor coming up. I think you're gonna have three
Oh,
action packed episodes on the way.
I think they've set up already that Vel and Luthen are trying to find Cassian. So I'm hoping we get back to that before this first season is done. I want to kind of see how that plays out. Um, I don't want them to kill Cassian. We know he's not going to, but
how do you know
maybe
they don't kill him and bring him back as a clone?
there you
Make the
go.
series even
Cassian
better.
in Rogue One was a clone,
It was a clone.
and it took a while to get it right. And so one of the throwaways is Snoke, and then he goes on to be that's what's happening.
I'm telling you, they're already on to Mon Mothra. Mothma. She's already been had, dude. They're just waiting to spring the plan into effect. Get her at the right moment.
What we know that they don't though, right?
I'm just saying that's what they allude to. You know,
Yeah, awesome. Well, we'll see what happens. Next episode is dropping soon. Is it Wednesdays or Thursdays?
Wednesdays. No,
I
I
no, I
think
never,
think
I
it's
never,
Thursdays.
I
it's
never
Wednesday
watch it
nights. I think.
Yeah, Wednesdays
Wednesday
nights.
nights.
Yeah.
So we're not too far away from it. We'll see what happens. Again, if you're watching this stream at a later time, be sure to let us know your thoughts on episode 9 of Andor. We want to hear from you guys. Also, if you're listening to this on the podcast version of the show, be sure to email us on the contact page of our website at www.countdowntothegeekcast.com.
Yeah, make sure you
Uh,
send your twerking videos to Teddy, man.
there you go.
Mhm.
Let Maddie know how his twerking was last week. Thumbs up, thumbs down. Drop them in the
I
comments.
got to
We
go back and watch.
appreciate.
I can't believe it.
There you go. Yeah, it happened. I was there. I was like, "Oh, he's doing it. He's doing it."
I got
Yep.
Awesome.
to go back and watch.
Next week we will be talking more Andor. We'll be talking Titans again, and later on this week, Black Panther 2, Wakanda Forever. We'll be reviewing that. We also need to review Black Adam. I know I've been kind of delaying that review, but that'll be dropping very soon here, the next day or two. So be looking out for the Black Adam review as well as our discussion on Black Panther 2, Wakanda Forever.
Hmm.
Legacy.
I'm still gonna go to the theater, and I'm gonna tell them one of these days with my kids there, so I can embarrass them, that I want uh, a family group, 5 tickets to see El Pantera Negro. They get embarrassed when I say that because that's Black Panther in Spanish. They said, "Please don't."
Legacy Nerd says She Hulk was better. Ooh, shots fired. Shots fired. Hot take. Hot take.
What was better? She-Hulk was better than what?
I
Probably
guess
Andor.
Andor.
This is trying to rile me up because I've been very calm.
I don't know what the hate was with She-Hulk, man. If you read the comic
It's
books,
weird.
you
It's
know,
weird,
you
man.
know, you
It
know.
is so weird. That's for another
Um,
story.
but yeah,
I need to
also
go.
follow me on Twitter,
Oh
folks.
yeah.
Follow me. I just started
Yeah,
this
what are
account
you up to
today.
now? Let's see. I don't even
Maddie
think I
B
followed you yet.
underscore Geekcast. I'm not up to much. I have all these people liking my post that I started new Twitter. No one's going over there and liking it. In this radical political age, let's get away from all of that and get a timeline cleanse of just some fun stuff, guys. Fun, easy, happy going. I've never had a bad take in my life. I never get upset about anything. It's a nice, happy place.
This guy. Look at this guy. Look at him.
Think I found him.
Yeah, look at that. Look how beautiful this looks. And look, we're promoting the show, everything, guys. If you need links or anything, just come over and hang out with Maddie B. I would really
Yeah, I
appreciate it.
immediately followed you and then unfollowed you.
Oh no, don't do that. It's for the
It's
brand.
it's
It's for the brand.
it's. I gotta introduce you to Twitter proper, dude. I have to follow and unfollow.
There you go. Appreciate everybody for joining us here today. Legacy Nerd, as always. Jared Kenobi. Always appreciate you guys joining. Rick, who was on with us earlier, appreciate you, brother. Hopefully you're having a good time. Like I mentioned, we'll be dropping our reviews for a few movies later on this week, and come back next week when we talk more Andor and more Titans. This Wednesday, me and Manny B will doing another episode of the Ghost Heads radio show. And then Thursday, don't forget to hang out with JC as well as Big Mike as they recap Crown Jewel, which happened
Over the
over the
weekend,
weekend. Yeah,
at
big
what time?
event,
Like 9 or 10 in the morning.
something like that. Something like that. Appreciate you guys. I'm gonna go take some medication. That way I can get these allergies out of my system.
You should
Thank you
have
for
been drinking some
watching.
beer. You would have been good already.
Be sure to like and subscribe. I did. Mine was a little different from yours though.
Okay,
Uh,
because you're
uh,
drinking that
uh.
bougie beer.
For the Geekcast, my name is Steady. Joining me, as always, is the man behind the magic. You know him as Joe Garcia.
Hey, thanks for watching, everybody. Greatly appreciate it. Make sure you subscribe, like, share, turn on those notifications so you can get notified of when we drop some new videos up here on the Countdown City Geekcast. And also make sure you go in and follow JC, and all the great things that they're doing over there at the Countdown City WrestleCast. And he also does the Sports Minority. So make sure you go and give them a like and a follow. And of course, go ahead and make sure you follow Matty B on Twitter, but immediately unfollow him. Give him that proper Twitter welcome.
And General Kenobi says, very nice stream. We appreciate you, brother. And also, congratulations on your 500 subscribers on YouTube. If you're not already following General Kenobi's Bunker for all Star Wars content, go check him out. Be sure to subscribe. And last but not least, as always, my partner in crime, the one and only Medibeer.
Crushing cans. When you drink a man's beer, you can crush cans during a stream. Ted won't finish his until 1 o'clock tonight.
Hold on, hold on, hold
Can't
on.
crush the can because you'll get a carpal
Ready,
tunnel,
ready?
dude.
There we go, Ted.
But he had to pour it, man. He didn't drink it right out of the can.
Love you guys. Thanks for the stream.
Have a good night. See you soon. Later.